Well, hi guys. Welcome back. Alex McDonald, This Week in Rockdale, joined by Mr. Larry Cox, this week from Rockdale. What's going on, Larry? How you doing, brother?
Al, doing good. Just we've been really busy putting this show together, and I've been busy running a couple of campaigns in my business. So I
Right.
have been extremely busy this last week, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm like in my element right now. I'm just telling
Right.
you, Al, in my element.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Larry's in his own special little Larry world. Um, Coming at you together tonight, this week in and this week from Rockdale, because this is important stuff that we have to talk about tonight. It's going to be a multi-part story, and you're going to want to stay tuned because at the end of this, we have some audio to play for you that you're going to want to hear. So stick around through the whole thing. I think you're going to find it interesting and a little bit of fun. However, let's start off. Let's start off by saying hi to our friends who have joined us. Danielle Munoz is here. Hey, Danny, good to see you. Danny's my co-host on my other show. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Jeffrey Kukin's with us. Hey, Jeffrey, sorry. Cindy Banks is here. Hey, Cindy, good to see you. CJ Lester is here. What's going on, CJ? Dan Burks is with us. Hey, Dan. Charlotte Gellert is here. Hi, Charlotte, and thank you for sending me that email right before the show as we're scrambling to go live. Michelle Ivy is with us. Hi, Michelle. Dondra Phillips Portwood is here. Hey, Dondra. Phil Morris is here. What's going on, Phil? Chris Mason says, "What's up, peeps?" What's up, Chris? Mary Boysworth is with us. William Campbell, Bill Campbell. What's going on, guys? Cheryl Garcia is here. Michelle McGee is with us. Hi, Michelle. Scott Stewart's here. Hey, Scott. Good to see you, man. Raymond Bernal is here. And George Kalachek, Eye of the Taxpayer. They've all said hi in the chat. If you're watching, say hi in the chat, and we can see you're there, and we can say hi back to you. R. Lee Wright. R. Lee, good to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Lee and Rochelle are watching, and we appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Yes. So Rockdale's been fairly quiet for a while, Larry. I mean, when all's said and done, it's been fairly quiet for a while. Things,
Al, don't they say when it's quiet, there might be some fire burning in the belly.
yeah. Yeah.
So there's been some fire burning.
Yeah, there has. Let's kick this off. Let's get this started. And to get this started, we've got to go all the way back to 2016, 2017 timeframe and talk about Restoration Storehouse, Larry.
Al, we'll go back to the historic and worst decision the county has, and we're going to talk about a lot of bad decisions tonight. But this is the decision that actually starts all these events, the domino effect. So in 2017, this commission, one of the first decisions they made was to lease the Parker Road facility, which housed the Georgia Extension office and also the Board of Elections, to Restoration Storehouse, a nonprofit who was going to organize and bring all the nonprofits that it could under one roof and perform all these fantastic services, which to date has not happened.
Right.
They have a Head Start program over there, which was never talked about when they first began this Restoration Storehouse. So the county, they gave this piece of property away. It's $10 a month lease, and it's ridiculous. But what this did was it enabled the county to say, we don't have this property and we can't do anything with it. And that takes us to the next part of the story, Alex, which you're going to pick up in 2018.
So, yeah, after giving away the most valuable piece of property in Rockdale County, this Board of Commissioners, Oz Nesbitt, really, let's place it where it belongs with Oz. Oz Nesbitt decided he wanted to build his $140 million legacy And they came up with the idea of building a judicial complex in downtown Conyers. Folks, it was a pipe dream. They were going to take out a $140 million bond, which at the end of the day, this is a bond cost calculator right here, which at the end of the day would have cost the taxpayers of Rockdale County $382 million to build this judicial complex that Oz was proposing. It would have been the most expensive judicial complex ever built in the United States. And the square foot cost would have been double that of five-star luxury hotel construction in Dubai. We ran all these numbers. Larry and I didn't. This was before you and I started the show, right, Larry?
Yep, it was.
I don't think we'd started the show back then, but I shared all these numbers. Myself and Larry shared all these numbers on our Facebook pages for people to see, and you can go all the way back to 2018 and find them if you want to. It's where I found a lot of the graphics for tonight. And of course, this caused a pushback from the taxpayers. Look, Rockdale's never really been fiscally responsible. We're going to get into more of that on the back half of this show. And I'm telling you, you're going to want to stick around to hear this recording because it is eye-opening and terrifying all at the same time. But it caused some pushback. And people... Finally, the voters of Rockdale, the taxpayers of Rockdale, started to make their voices heard, which, quite frankly, annoyed the Board of Commissioners. Here's a post from Sherry Washington. She was, you can see her comment there. But as part of her comment, she said, "We can't do this without money, plain and simple. Now, as I think about it, we can roll away the host exemption and everyone will be responsible for the entire amount of their tax assessment. But that will be so much more than the millage rate we're asking for." They were so scared of the voters, the taxpayers, as they should be, mind you. Our elected officials should be weary. They should be scared, and they should listen to the taxpayers. But Sherry Washington, who has since been reelected, used this as an opportunity to threaten the taxpayers of Rockdale County with removing their host exemption. Don't know where she honestly believed she had the authority, the statutory authority to do that, Larry, but that's what she threatened. Anyway, this went on the ballot, as we know. Well, some of you may not. Some of you may be new to Rockdale. This may all be new to you. It went on the ballot. This was the wording of the ballot, and it was soundly defeated by the taxpayers, the voters of Rockdale County. Larry, I don't remember the percentage, yes versus no, but it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was like 80% no.
It was almost 80%. It was like 78, 79%.
Yeah. Nobody, well, I guess about 20% of people did, but 80% of the people in Rockdale did not trust this government, this board of commissioners to manage or use responsibly 140 or more accurately 382 million over 20 years of our dollars just to build Oz Nesbitt his legacy. In response to this, a courthouse committee was put together. It was 25 or so people who were handpicked for the committee. Initially, there were some people on that committee that shouldn't have been there. They were summarily removed from that committee. But this committee
didn't live in the county.
Didn't live in the county. That's right. This committee did what I consider to be a very good job. They came up with two plans for a new courthouse, effectively, that were priced reasonably, Both options were below $20 million. They were thoroughly researched. They talked to builders who actually built these things. They got real dollar amounts, actual numbers to apply to this instead of just pulling a number out of their butts of $140 million. They did their due diligence and they came up with some valid numbers. How do I know they're valid?
Can I say one thing? You need to add one thing, Alex. What was the $140 million? Tell the people what amount that actually was.
What do you mean? It was 140.
It was their credit limit. That was the max.
Yes, that's right. That amount of borrowing, I don't remember the exact number, Larry. I would have to go back through my documents, but it was around 98 to 99% of the total credit available to the county at that particular time. It would have pushed us to the brink of insolvency. And it was a bad idea all the way around. The voters rejected it. The courthouse committee came up with two viable options. I know they're viable because I did my own. I created my own plan and my own estimate, Larry and I together, actually, because Larry helped me price the things I wasn't able to price myself. Ours came in at just under $17 million total budget. All of these plans were accepted. The county shelved these. They took the courthouse committee's plans, put them in a desk drawer, and ignored them in preparation for phase 3. Phase 3 brings us to today. Phase 3 brings us to this proposed facilities authority that the Board of Commissioners just passed this resolution in order to create. This thing, Larry, is, boy, oh boy, talk about an end run around. Talk about sticking both middle fingers up to the voters of Rockdale County. Oh, sure, you voted down our $140 million. Tell you what, we'll go about it another way and get as much money as we like without any approval from the voters whatsoever. And that's what this facilities authority does. It creates a board of 3 handpicked members, of which the Board of Commissioners can appoint themselves to. In this resolution, I'll flip through the pages and you guys can come back and watch the replay to see it, or you can email Larry or email myself or Larry, and we can send you a copy of this thing. But this authority will have the power to issue bonds, or effectively take out loans on behalf of the taxpayers of Rockdale County. There's no dollar amount restriction to the number of loans they can take out, and there is effectively no time restriction. It's 40 years, but 40 years is, it's a lifetime.
And there's no way for the voters to stop anything they do if this authority is enacted.
That's correct. No way for the voters to stop it if this authority is enacted, and if these commissions. Listen, regardless of who's on the authority, it's going to concern me. But the fact that our current commissioners can appoint themselves to the authority is even more cause for concern, to be honest with you. The board, this authority will have I don't want to call it a taxing power, but they will be granted the power to collect revenue. Now, people have said, well, this will just be for revenue bonds. According to this resolution, this won't just be for revenue bonds. This authority will be granted the power to collect revenue through any means whatsoever. They will have the full authority to raise our taxes, for lack of a better term. Even though the Board of Commissioners are on record saying this won't raise anyone's taxes, in this resolution, they have the authority to raise revenue, to bring in revenue by any means.
In the article that was done by the Citizen with the interview with the commissioners or whoever they interviewed from the county, it specifically stated that they would use revenue generated by whatever facility they built. I actually spoke with 3 individuals over the past few days. I spoke with someone from the legislature. I spoke from someone that is involved in administrative affairs at the courthouse, and I spoke from someone who is involved in judicial matters at the courthouse.
Mm-hmm.
And I told all these 3 individuals I wasn't going to use any of their identities because I didn't, me and you are already going to get in hot water. Well, I don't know if we're going to get hot water. Enough people are going to be pissed at you and I, right? So,
Sure.
So all of those entities told me this, that as far as the courthouse goes, the monies, the fees, the fines that are collected from that courthouse are already allocated by the state of Georgia through legislative process to where those funds have to go. That there are no additional funds that they're aware of that a courthouse could generate to pay a revenue bond. These were 3 very highly respected and placed individuals who know this. So this is what I would challenge the county to do.
I think even further, there may be
sorry, wrong button.
I would challenge the county to tell me how they're going to raise revenue from this courthouse when they can't take any of the revenue that the courthouse generates.
Right.
Would that not be a fair ask, Alex?
Yeah, it would be. It would be a fair ask. Sorry, I'm jumping through here because I'm trying to find a particular place. Here's the thing: if this isn't going to cost the taxpayers any money, if it isn't going to raise the millage rate, or if it isn't going to introduce any new taxes, then this resolution should have stated that instead of stating what it does state. Look at item F there. To pay this is the authority granted to this facilities authority to pay the costs of the projects with the proceeds of revenue bonds, notes, or other forms of obligations issued by the authority, or from any grant or contribution from the United States of America or any agency or instrumentality thereof, or from the state or any agency, instrumentality, municipality, or political subdivision thereof, or from any other source whatsoever. From any other source whatsoever. They effectively can collect the revenue to pay for this from any source whatsoever, which includes taxing us for them.
Let's be honest. If they would take out bonds, Alex, they would not be able to collect any source from the courthouse. So this is realistically what would happen. The year after, you and I would get our tax bill, and on there we would have a little line item that would say this portion of your taxes is being taken to satisfy this bond. That's exactly what would happen.
Right. So this is the new plan the Board of Commissioners have come up with to circumvent the voters, to effectively impose their will on the voters of Rockdale who have already made themselves perfectly clear we do not want this new judicial complex. We don't want it. If they were to do it, it could be paid for via the SPLOST, and it should be built at Parker Road because there's plenty of land there available. My land plan proves that point. There's a ton of land there for parking and for a courthouse.
Well, I think, I've talked to many people in Rockdale County. It's not that the people don't want a different or a new judicial facility. Mm-hmm. They just don't want one that costs $140 million.
Right.
And they don't want one built in Old Town.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
That's the sentiment of the folks that live in Rockdale County.
Well, and they want it to be affordable.
They want it to be affordable, and they want it to be centrally placed over in Parker Road.
They don't want it to put us into bankruptcy. But here's the thing. This Board of Commissioners have absolutely no intention of utilizing the SPLOST the way it was intended, Larry. Tell us what's going on with the new SPLOST resolution.
Holy cow. The new SPLOST. Well, first I want to say this about the facilities authority. I do want the people to know that they added this facilities authority on the consent agenda. It passed by the Board of Commission on the consent agenda. There was never discussion or comment because it was on the consent agenda.
Right.
Then I do know that it was discussed at the state legislature, went over badly. Then they brought their consulting firm, the lobbyist, in. And they pitched it. That pitch went a little better, but our delegates were still, this is you guys. They asked them, did you talk to the citizens of Rockdale County? Because the way you're doing it, they will never have a vote. Did you actually talk to them? And they said, well, no, we didn't. So they said, well, you need to go back and have meetings and talk to them. So we've since seen, Alex, that they have put up that they're going to have some virtual meetings
Yes.
to discuss this with the citizens. So you've had these individuals going to do these virtual meetings to do these with the citizens because the delegation said, well, there's no way we could even consider this if you've not talked to the citizens about it.
Right.
So this is a weak attempt through having virtual meetings at the last minute because, like you mentioned earlier, this was a bad rollout again.
Absolutely. And we'll show folks at the end, we'll bring up the dates and times of the meetings, and we'll tell people who you need to contact at the end of this to quite frankly, to make sure that this disaster doesn't happen. And stay tuned for the recording that if we don't convince you, maybe this person will be able to convince you. But anyway, that brings us up to the new SPLOST, right? The one financial instrument we should be using for this type of spending, which of course we're not. Larry, what's going on with the new SPLOST, brother?
The new SPLOST is like, in the past, Alex, they have mentioned specific projects that the SPLOST was going to do. And I do have information that several of the key members of this SPLOST were notified by an email that said that they would not be doing any specific projects until after the vote and the SPLOST was approved. Then when they would decide what projects they would be doing. So what they did was they budgeted it as in general. They allocated X number of dollars to go to the fire department, X number to go to the sheriff's department, X number to go to road. You can actually scroll down and we have that to where they just did sort of an a la carte type thing. It's just a general budget with no specific projects listed. It was back. I think one more back. There. No, that's the projected income.
Yeah, I don't know what page it's on.
That's it.
Is this it? Page
that's
2?
It. Yep, that's it. You see, though, they've allocated $22 million to repair the existing courthouse. Alex, I thought they'd been doing repairs to the existing courthouse since the 2018 thing failed.
Yeah, they were supposed to have been.
So
that's what we've been told.
I think that's more than a repair. I think that's a remodel.
$20 million. That is more expensive than the cost to build a new courthouse at Parker Road. Now, listen, that was in 2018. Costs have obviously increased since then, but I'll bet you we're looking at less than I'm going to say 25, but maybe less than 30 to build a brand spanking new one at Parker Road, even with today's costs. By the way, speaking of costs, and this goes back to the Restoration Storehouse, some information got released on that the other day about the improvements that have been done on Restoration Storehouse, and they're claiming $2.6 million worth of exterior renovations have been done to that building. But if you look at the breakdown of the exterior renovations, the only thing listed is lighting. So apparently they spent $2.6 million on lighting over there. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, sorry, that was going down a rabbit hole. Let's continue talking about this SPLOST. So they haven't spelled out any projects, any specifics for projects that they intend to address with this SPLOST.
Other than they claimed the courthouse was going to be Disability Act improvements and safety improvements. And I had thought they already had started on the Disability Act improvements. And the safety improvements was what we were told back in 2019, Alex.
Yeah.
We're talking 3 years ago.
Yeah.
That we were told that they were going to be we were going to be spending this kind of money. They were complaining about a roof again a couple of weeks ago when supposedly we spent. There was a contract 2 years ago for thousands of dollars for roof repair.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, so are we really doing what they're saying we're doing, or are they just cutting checks and pretending to do one?
I mean, even if they're throwing bad money, even if they're throwing good money after bad, and that they do plan on using this $20 million on the existing courthouse, they could take this $20 million, take $10 million away from roads, bridges, sidewalks, and transportation, add it to that courthouse budget, and build a brand new shiny courthouse at Parker Road with this SPLOST.
Alec, the Rockdale Voter Group is going to have a town hall meeting on February the 15th, and we will be putting out where that's going to be. But we're going to be having a town hall meeting February the 15th, and we're going to discuss the Facilities Authority and the SPLOST because the two go hand in hand.
They do.
Because the Facilities Authority is nothing but a slick way so that they don't have to spend SPLOST money for what it was intended to do.
Right.
And then they can borrow money and put this county into pauper's court.
Yes,
so
and the Facilities Authority is just a slick way to circumvent the will of the voters and get Aussie's legacy built.
This is what the Rockdale voter. There are several of us right now, and this is going to be what we are going to propose. We're going to propose that we spend budget $25 million for highways for the road portion of it, of the SPLOST. Allocate the rest of the money to the courthouse. We not need that, but you know what I mean? But let's come up with a budget for the courthouse, then we allocate that, and then you can have the rest for your other little projects.
Right.
But we're going to actually oppose, the Rockdale Voter Group is going to oppose the SPLOST that's on the ballot in May, and our stance will be that the Rockdale Voter Group will oppose any SPLOST moving forward until the courthouse is the primary purpose of that SPLOST.
I agree. And also until this clause is removed in its entirety. Larry, this is part of the resolution for the brand new SPLOST. And you all can see it there. It's right there on the screen in bold.
It's in bold.
Pursuant to OCGA section 3682 100 maybe, the county notifies all interested parties that no independent performance audit or performance review, aka the debt audit, will be conducted with respect to the debt. However, the county will continue to ensure that debt proceeds are expended efficiently and economically as intended by the debt audit. In other words, give us all this money. We're going to do with it whatever we want to do. We're not going to spell it out here for you. We're not going to give you a list of projects like we have on every other SPLOST. We're just going to take all this money, do whatever we want with it, and you are prohibited from auditing us.
Basically, we're prohibited from asking what they've done with the money.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, you couldn't make this up. I swear to God, you could not make this up. Now, Larry, what does the law say about the SPLOST?
I've talked to several members of the SPLOST. The law actually says it's mandated that there's audits.
Mm-hmm.
It's mandated that the law says you must audit. Don't you have it up there, Alex?
It's up there now. It's also mandated that the purposes have to be described in the referendum and call for election.
Not just that general description.
Right. The projects, the individual projects have to be listed. They cannot be commingled with other funds prior to expenditure. Each annual audit must include a schedule for each project, including the estimated total amount of the SPLOST to be used for the project, the amount expended in prior years, the amount expended in the current year, then the estimated percentage of completion. The statute requires that records sufficient for these audit purposes be maintained for every project for which the SPLOST is used.
Well, does that not say every project? Well, read
every
that.
Project for which the SPLOST is used.
Pull back up that list of what they list as projects.
Well,
That's not a list of projects.
there is no list of projects here.
It's a
there's
generality of how they're going to spend the money.
Yeah,
Right there it is.
it's a general overview of how they intend to divvy up the money. 35 million will go to roads, bridges, sidewalks, and transportation. 5 and a bit to the sheriff. 8 million to fire and E911. Parks and Rec. Why? Don't know, but they're going to get 4.5 million. And a courthouse, 19.6 million. Very, very general overview. Absolutely nothing like the law requires them to actually do. But when have this board ever done anything that the law requires them to do?
Because they're defining all that as a project. That's not a project. That's a general overview.
Yes, a general overview. Now, the people watching this might be getting the sense that we don't trust this board of commissioners to do the right thing with our money, right?
We don't trust them.
I don't trust them to follow the law. I don't trust them to administer these funds responsibly. But we're not the only person. We're not the only people that don't trust this board of commissioners.
Before you play that bean footage, I want to make one more little thing.
Go ahead.
Okay, we've got them wanting to do this facilities authority where they're going to be managing these loans and without any oversight, even though they say they're going to have an oversight authority, which they themselves can serve in. Right now, you've got citizens of Rockdale County who are complaining and upset because they can't get a water bill on time.
Mm-hmm.
And the SPLOST has funded the capability of this county to actually have self-reading meters. And they've got these meters in a warehouse somewhere, and they're not installed. You can't make that up either, Alex. I mean, these things are be able to read through radio wave, right? So they just automatic read. But right now we've got people getting their utility bills late because the county can't bill them. Then they're charging you a higher percent because your bill is being paid late. Right. And then they won't on their own correct it. You have to request them to correct it because they say it's too much of an inconvenience for them to bill you correctly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how would we expect these people to manage this new authority when they can't even get you your water bill, Alex?
Well, because they tell us right here, Larry, not to worry, have no fear. We will continue to ensure that debt proceeds are expended efficiently and economically. If we can't take them at their word, what can we possibly do? Well, here's the thing. We don't take them at their word. And anybody in Rockdale County that does take this cast of characters at their word, I'm afraid is on the wrong side of history here.
We even have financial experts that don't take them at their word, correct?
We have financial experts that don't take them at their word, up to and including our own county finance director, Mark Lewis. Now, I'm going to issue some disclaimers here up front. Larry and I received this recording independent of each other. I don't know who Larry's source was. He doesn't know who mine is. I do know that I'm not going to speak for Larry. You know what? I explained this to Mark Lewis himself. I'm not going to explain it here on the air. This is a recording from a meeting of some Rockdale citizens who were trying to get responses to some open records requests. And they had a meeting with Director Lewis here. I called Director Lewis and I spoke to him and I told him what we were going to be doing tonight. I tried to set up a three-way conversation between the director, myself, and Larry so that we could discuss this because there's going to be fallout. For what we're about to play tonight, there's going to be fallout. However, what we're going to play is extremely important and the people of this county need to hear it. One of Director Lewis's concern, I don't know if it was a concern, but he said to me, "Oh, I didn't know that was being recorded." My response to that was, well, I don't know about that. I wasn't on the call, but what I can tell you is this: you were acting in your official capacity as finance director of Rockdale County. We're in a single party consent state. I operate under the assumption that I am always being recorded. And he said, yeah, true. Or words to those effect. He confirmed what I said. Quite frankly, this would have been subject to the Open Meetings Act. And if the county are not recording what I assume was a Zoom call, I don't even know that, but I assume it was a Zoom call. The county should be recording every single one of those if they are subject to the Open Meetings Act. And if they're not, they're breaking the law. Plain and simple. But again, this administration doesn't have many problems breaking the law. Anyway, this conversation, I've edited it down. It's quite long. We have about 7 minutes worth of audio to listen to here because I don't want to just play the salacious parts. I want to leave context in place because I believe that Director Lewis is acting in the best interests of the taxpayers of Rockdale County. And I'm afraid to say that because he's acting in those interests, there's probably going to be some backlash when they hear this recording. So let's jump into it. Stick with it for a few minutes because there's going to be some context up front. And then we're going to get into some, we're going to stop and start as we go through this and discuss it as we move along. Right, Larry?
Yes, we are.
Well, let's take a listen to this.
I think even further, there may
That is Director Lewis's voice, by the way.
be the need for like a finance committee, a citizens-led finance committee. But I think in terms of the ongoing questions that you all are asking, which I think are very good questions and very, absolutely within your right to ask these questions. But I think also it might be better to have a finance committee that we could have these in-depth discussions for, so that when it gets to the board meeting, that the finance committee is a citizens-led finance committee. To have the ongoing financial conversations with the community is really what's necessary, and maybe a recommendation of making a citizens-led finance committee that I would be the employee representative of that committee to facilitate whatever information that this committee would want to get. I even think the basis could be like some of the questions that you've asked right here. But I do think that that's, given the history, I think that's a totally legitimate ask. I think.
So if I'm wrong about this, I want somebody who was on that call to reach out to me privately and let me know. But my understanding of this was that the Open Records Act requests were related to COVID, federal COVID monies that came to the county, the initial mismanagement of those prior to Director Lewis actually taking the position. It was back when Director Rosalind Miller was there. If we remember, that was mismanaged. We almost lost the money, and nobody seems to know where the remaining balance of that initial round of federal COVID money went, right?
Correct.
It came down to...
He even says he doesn't know where it went.
He doesn't know where it went. But he hasn't had the opportunity to go back in time and research that. So that's what this meeting initially started about there. And you can hear our own finance director there recommending the formation, the implementation of a citizen finance committee to oversee the county. Let's keep on listening here.
That's an excellent idea. That's going to go a long way to establish the credibility between the county and finance and the citizens.
Mm-hmm. But let me say this. The recommendation from a finance committee has to come from you all. And because I want both of these things to happen in parallel. Y'all can still make the ask of the finance committee, but I can still be finding out the answers to some of these questions.
Do we ask about the finance committee to the board? Do we bring it up to the board?
Yes.
To those three people that sit up there?
Yes.
And clown around? Okay.
And they're the ones going to make the decision whether we have a finance committee or not.
Absolutely.
Oh boy, that might not happen.
I think there's a constructive way to put it where they would have to. I think if you could ask the same questions that you just asked of me in terms of the CARES dollars that we never found answers to, or to say that there has been a track record of unclarity or muddled finances, and the only thing that we want to do now is ensure that going forward that the transparency is there, and that we as the community understand exactly what is happening with the finances.
Unclarity and muddled finances from our own finance director.
And he makes that statement that there has been a history.
Well, let's keep on
history
going.
of unclarified. Yes.
Yeah, let's keep on going.
And that entails more than just coming to the board meetings. So our recommendation would be that we establish a citizens finance committee in order to discuss the ongoing finances of the county. And then I think equally you should ask, if indeed the commissioners are against it, that they should state exactly why, what apprehensions they have in terms of being against the transparency that is involved with the citizens finance committee.
If they are against it, is there any other, is there somewhere else we can go to kind of demand or override their?
Yes, we vote them out, Corliss. We vote them out.
Yeah. And so I would say that if indeed it doesn't happen on the larger scale, then I could establish one within the Department of Finance. But I think the correct thing to do is to ask, to ask the board first. And that way, like me establishing one doesn't necessarily put it into an ordinance, but if the board establishes one, it becomes an ordinance, and thus it is an ongoing committee. I want to get us to this space that is the citizens being able to say, we believe in the financials of the county. Right. And
this man wants transparency. This man wants the taxpayers to know what's going on and know that their money is being managed properly.
Right now, we're not in that space.
No, we're not.
Yeah,
We're not even close.
I know.
Well, I tell you, I do feel comfortable going forward with you as the finance director.
I appreciate you saying that, because it has not been an easy road for the last 6 months from a number of perspectives. You all are well aware of the board and the difficulties in dealing with the board. And that is why I will try to use you all to help me do what needs to be done. The financial literacy of this board is not where it should be.
I agree.
The financial literacy of this board is not where it should be. He's had difficulties dealing with the board.
And that's why, for me, that we have myself, we have consultants, financial consultants, who are saying one thing, and we have a board that wants to go in another direction. And so I need some assistance in trying to make sure that we don't go in. I don't want to. My approach is simple. I don't want us to spend every single dollar we have, because we need to set aside dollars for a rainy day, because the community is going to come looking and saying, oh, we have this event that was unexpected, emergency, and we need to be in a position to be that safety net for the community. But if we keep spending dollars the way we spend dollars, we're not going to be able to do that.
This is our finance director crying out for help. This is our finance director who's only been here for a relatively short term, hasn't been here long, but he's seen all he needs to see. And this is our own county finance director crying out for help. Let's keep going, because we're not done yet.
And that's part of what I talk about in terms of moving the ship in a different direction.
But my question I'm asking is, do you think mismanagement of money in the past is the reason we're in this situation?
No, I think that we have some current mismanagement of funds that needs to be addressed. I believe.
Oh my God, Alex. I mean, yeah, right.
I mean, what do you say to that when your own finance director is seemingly at his wit's end dealing with this board of commissioners, to the point where he's telling tax-paying voting citizens on a Zoom call that current mismanagement of
Is
money
occurring right
is
now.
the problem? He sees our problems. He knows our problems. He knows we spend too much money. He knows we spend it in the wrong places. He knows that we have no nest egg. We have no fallback. How long have we been talking about, Larry, the reserve fund? How long have we been talking about that?
You and I, Alex, know there's no reserve fund.
Right.
You and I know when they talk about the funds balance, all that is the amount of money that's on hand that day.
It's the bank account balance at the end of that day.
That we do not have any extra money. These guys don't have a savings account. They don't, guys. And you heard him. We spend. The man said we spend every dime we got.
Every dime. Let's
He said
finish.
finish it.
Yeah, let's finish this up.
That we continue to spend money as if we have an unlimited credit card.
Yeah, well, you have to run you have to run this thing like you do your household.
Spend money like we have an unlimited credit card.
Lax with your household money, you're gonna be lax with our money. Come on,
Absolutely.
I got a nest egg. I'm gonna keep one, but come on now.
Right.
You gotta have a few dollars for a rainy day.
Like I said, that's not the approach of everyone on the board.
I listen. I can see that.
So Mark, what power do you have to get them on board as far as spending?
And so, so I have a different approach that I want to do with the budget. First of all, secondly, when people come to me with things that aren't budgeted, you need to tell me how you're gonna pay for this. What are you taking away that you want to do this? That's the only control I really have. And even that is limited because the reality is we have a number of elected officials here. We have a number of elected officials. And that's the part that gets a little bit difficult.
That regardless of what you say, they're going to do what they want to do?
Well, they could be unelected, so we can work on that too. We can work on that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see some changes moving forward.
I can't even tell you how it's so necessary to have some changes here. From a financial perspective, it's very, very frustrating because there's so many ways we could do things so much better.
So that is our county finance director, Mark Lewis, in his own words, sounding the alarm bells regarding the mismanagement of money in this county. And now they want the authority for 3 people sitting on a board handpicked by the Board of Commissioners, if not the Board of Commissioners themselves, appointing themselves to this board. Now they want the authority to issue unlimited bonds for virtually unlimited time with unlimited sources of revenue collection available to them and no opportunity for audit.
No audit and Alex, no consequence. No audit, no consequence. You give them the ability to loan themselves as much money they want for anything they want, and the voters, the Rockdale County citizens, would have not one say in this.
I know some people will look at you and I, Larry, because we're both Republicans. We're Republicans in a blue county, right? But the things that we've done have been the things that the legislation that we've moved on, the things that have gotten passed have all been to benefit all taxpayers of Rockdale. It's not to benefit Republicans. It's not to benefit Democrats. And you can go back and you can look at our track records and you can see that. But I know that some people are going to look at this and say, oh, they're just blowing things out of proportion because they're Republicans in a blue county.
No.
If you won't take it from us, if you don't think that our concerns are justified, maybe take it from our own finance director, who has the same concerns and who is unable to do anything about it because this Board of Commissioners don't listen to the experts. Because, and I'm going to say it again, this Board of Commissioners, Oz Nesbitt in particular, cares about one thing, and that is Oz Nesbitt's legacy. And that legacy for Oz Nesbitt has to be a massive judicial system, no matter the cost to the taxpayers. I'm not even going to talk about the housing crisis that we are facing in 18 months, and county revenues are going to plummet. And if we've taken out millions and millions and millions of dollars in loans, we won't be able to afford to pay them back because we will already be at our county credit limit. Not even going to mention that.
No, I mean, EFAT Walker makes a good. This has nothing to do with party lines. This discussion is about transparency and accountability, and now that's what we've attempted to do for several years now. We've attempted to put the spotlight on the lack of transparency and the lack of accountability.
Yeah,
and that's one of the reasons that, besides being Republicans, that we decided to team up with a group of Democrats and independents and form the Rockdale Voter Group, which has been very active in doing things. And the Rockdale Voter Group is going to really be proactive during this campaign cycle. This will be the first time that the voter group actually goes against something that's on the ballot.
right.
The Rockdale Voter Group will be going against the SPLOST that's on the ballot. And this is an uphill battle. And I want the citizens of Rockdale County to know this, that usually people just automatically think, well, we just vote for the SPLOST because it's always there and it's just a penny. Well, it's a penny that's going to add up to be close to $100 million
Right.
that they're going to be able to mismanage. $100 million mismanaged when we could take a portion of that $100 million, build a courthouse, and have no debt be occurred to the citizens of this county.
Mm-hmm.
That's accountability, Alex.
And a SPLOST that specifically states in the resolution that you can't audit the money, you can't track where the money's been spent, you can't even find out how much of that money is left. In addition to that $100 million or so dollars, they now want blanket authority to borrow as much money as they deem necessary under the gavel of 3 handpicked people on a facilities authority who could very well be the same 3 commissioners that currently sit up at those podiums because they can appoint themselves to the authority. Dude, it is terrifying. So what can people do? Because we're coming up to the end here. What can people do?
And we think about it, Alice. We can go over a minute or two. We're good. But this is what people are going to do. They're going to have these meetings on Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and they're going to be virtual.
Right. And they have not announced a platform for these, by the way. I'm going to assume it will be a Zoom, and I'm going to assume that the county will release the links and everything. And as soon as they do, I'll put them up on This Week in Rockdale so that people can attend these meetings. There's something more important.
It says right here you've got to register in advance to be able to speak.
To be able to speak, yes. To be able to tune in, they'll just issue a link. There's something more important than even attending these meetings you can do, though. Obviously, attend if you're able to. Reach out to your legislators, because this is being introduced as local legislation under the Gold Dome. That means if you're in Rockdale County, it's who is it? It's Rhonda, correct?
Ron, you can talk to Rhonda Taylor is the only representative that actually lives in Rockdale County.
Right.
I have spoken to Rhonda personally about this issue. Rhonda is very concerned about it. Rhonda has led the charge to asking questions. Rhonda led the charge to say, this won't even, I think actually Senator Anderson, if I'm not mistaken, actually told them that they didn't need to not even come back to them until after they've had public hearings. They say, ask them, have you had public hearings? No, why not? This is a very important issue. You should have had public hearings with the citizens to see if they actually want this or not. So the Board of Commission had to admit to our local delegation they have never discussed this matter with the citizens of Rockdale County. In fact, when they put it for vote, they put it on the consent agenda where there was no discussion and no comment. Right. So there has never been the ability to have discussion or comment on this facilities authority. And now this is a lame excuse, a way of trying to have their backdoor deal with these virtual meetings, which are going to be useless.
Yeah, they're scrambling now. So I'm going to speculate here a little. To me, their intention was to sneak this through with nobody noticing.
It was
their intention.
It was their intention.
And when people actually paid attention to this and sounded the alarm bells, they started to get pushback. And this is their scrambling reaction to the pushback. It's the exact same thing that happened with mandatory trash collection. They tried to roll it out as sneakily as possible. And then eagle-eyed people saw it, got involved, started pushing back, and they started to backtrack. That was when they started having meetings, if we remember rightly.
It is.
This Board of Commissioners don't have meetings unless they get caught doing something underhanded. And what they're doing here is remarkably underhanded. And if you don't believe us, listen to our finance director. Now, if you call your local representative, if you call your local state house rep, if you call your local senator, point them to this recording, not necessarily of this show, but if the only place you have access to this recording is this show, point them to this show and tell them to go and listen to what our own finance director has to say about the financial responsibility of this board, and ask them, should we trust this board with even more financial responsibility? And the answer should be a resounding no from your elected officials. This needs to be killed dead in its tracks. It needs to be taken out back and shot. That's what needs to happen here. This Board of Commissioners cannot be trusted with money, and that is from our own, he didn't say that, but that's the gist of what our own finance director says. He recommends a citizen oversight committee of the finances in Rockdale County. It is that bad.
Alex, 100% correct. And you know, there were people who didn't want us to do this show and play this recording, and I actually have additional information and additional sources who have told me, guys, I mean, I know so much stuff that I wish I didn't know, that it terrifies me, and you do too, Alex. But we've got sources that have asked us to stay confidential and not release certain things. That's why we felt it's so important to have this show and release what we did have, because we know what's going on behind the scenes. I mean, and it's not good, guys. That's why this coming election, the Rockdale Voter Group will be opposing the SPLOST, and we need you right now to help us defeat this facilities authority. Right now, I believe we have the votes in the local delegation to defeat this facilities authority.
But let's not count on that.
Let's not count on it. Let's go ahead and start reaching out to these legislators and make sure we do.
Let's flood them with phone calls.
And guys, it is so important to defeat this SPLOST and let them know that we're tired of the mismanagement, and we're not going to let you. Let me tell you, this actually happened at the election board, Al. This resolution for the SPLOST goes to the election board. The election superintendent tells the Republican representative, well, if you vote, you can't not vote for it. You have to pass it.
Right.
Well, why do we have to? Why are we even voting for it if we have to pass it? Then the election board members didn't receive a copy of the resolution of the SPLOST until after they voted for it, Alex.
Right.
So these guys just thought everything is rubber stamped, do what you want. And then after these guys voted for it, they started asking questions about should they have actually have passed it. So the election board even questioned their own actions of passing this SPLOST and putting it on the ballot. Right. The Rockdale County Republican member of the election board voted no regarding putting this on the ballot, because our election board person objected because they felt uncomfortable voting for that clause that said no audits when the rules say you're supposed to audit. They felt they were voting for something that violated state law.
Yep.
So they in good conscience could not vote for that piece of that resolution. So I think that the citizens of Rockdale County on February the 15th, when the Rockdale Voter Group announces where this town hall is going to be, you need to attend this town hall, and we need to unite in force. And it's a twofold attack, guys. We have to beat the facilities authority, and we have to vote down this SPLOST to send a message that if you want a courthouse, you will do it with the proper funds. It will be SPLOST, and we will not go into debt over this.
The ramifications, let me make this bigger on the screen so that folks can see those numbers. The ramifications of, number one, a unauditable SPLOST, and number two, a blank check and a blanket resolution to incur debt on the backs of Rockdale taxpayers. The implications of that should be terrifying to the taxpayers of Rockdale County. Our own finance director questions their ability to manage money. Do we really want to give them hundreds of millions of more dollars to mismanage? And that's the question you need to ask your state rep and your state senator. Does any board of commissioners in Rockdale need to be empowered to incur the kind of debt that we're talking about here?
Al, I do want to say something, because Cheryl just said, can we invite, we do intend to send Rhonda and Tanya and the other legislators an invite to this town hall. One of our problems right now is we do have a place that we can do it, but it only holds about 50 people. So if anybody has a facility that can at least hold 100 people that we could use, if you could reach out to me and let me know, because that's the one thing that's sort of got me concerned, because I have a feeling that when we do this, the facility is going to be overrun and people are going to be outside the doors.
Yeah.
I actually have that feeling that it's going to happen with this, because people are going to be that upset and people are going to want to know what's going on, how they can stop this. Because like I said, this is a twofold thing. This town hall will be about the facilities authority and the SPLOST. And we just can't defeat one. We have to defeat both.
Yeah. And share this, not for promotional reasons, because Larry and I, we don't make money doing this. We're not in this for money. We want people to get the information. So share this. You can share it from This Week in Rockdale. You can share it from This Week from Rockdale. I think we're going out live on a couple of other channels at the moment as well. But share this with your friends in Rockdale so that they know, and so that they can hear from the horse's mouth the concerns that we have here in Rockdale County.
Did you see what Bill Campbell said? Bill said, how about renting costly, Bill?
Yeah, how about renting costly, Bill? Yeah. Hey, keep it, shop the rock, man. Yeah, listen, transparency. We did 2 years worth of this show talking about transparency, trying to show the voters and taxpayers, the residents, everybody in Rockdale, what was going on under their noses behind closed doors. This one, the ramifications of this are so huge that I had to come on and do this with Larry. And this is information that has to get out there. People have to know about this.
Yeah, when I began getting this information, and I reached out to Alex and I said, "Hey, buddy, this is crazy. We've got to combine forces and do this, because people have got to know. They have to know.
They have to know." Again, these are the public meetings that the Board of Commissioners have now, I guess, agreed to have. They weren't going to do this initially, but now they are.
And people might notice our meeting is going to be a day before theirs.
And your meeting will be Tuesday, February 15th. Of course, send me that information. I will post that on This Week in Rockdale. You'll have it up on your pages.
When I would like to try to actually video that one. I mean, you know what I mean? Stream it. We
will talk to Lowry about getting involved with that and hopefully getting it streamed. Folks, guys, this is scarier than their this is scarier than the $150 million bond referendum, because we don't get to vote on this one.
Yeah,
That one,
this is terrifying.
that one we got to vote down. We got to, our voices were heard, as Oz said, loud and clear. Right? I heard you loud and clear. He went up. He went on his.
They heard us loud and clear, and know they couldn't go about it straightforward and have to try to make an end run.
Right. These are and thank you, Charlotte, for this. These are the numbers for Rhonda Taylor and Senator Anderson. Make a note of.
We will be putting some stuff up on the Rockdale Voter Group website.
Well?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're going to be we're also going to put up some email links to where you'll be able to go and hit the email, sign your name to it, and it'll send an email to the legislators.
Okay.
Ken is working on that also.
Yeah, but phone calls are equally important, and if not more so. Do your emails, everything like that, but also make your phone calls. And Charlotte, thank you for getting that information so that we can throw it up on here. Guys, this is it. This determines the financial well-being of Rockdale County. This is it.
I do want to sort of end the night with a positive thing, Alex, if I can.
Go for it, Larry.
Representative Taylor has been working very hard on property tax exemption for senior citizens in Rockdale County regarding to the Board of Education. She's about ready to drop some local legislation in the next couple of weeks. Right now, the Board of Education, I think, is going back and forth trying to negotiate with her. They want to do a flat fee amount. But from what I've gathered from Representative Taylor, there have been 6 additional counties in the state of Georgia that have introduced similar legislation to what Representative Taylor is representing, about where they do a percent, and it increases to a certain age to where the senior maxes out and they no longer have to pay taxes. Representative Taylor also informed me, which I was aware of this, every single county that touches Rockdale County, and that these representatives, because these representatives sometimes represent Rockdale County and maybe another county or 2 counties, that every representative, every county, other county that these representatives represent currently has an exemption for senior citizens. Rockdale County is the only county that does not have an exemption. And this Board of Education is trying to stop that. And Rhonda Taylor said she promised the citizens this, and it's a promise she's going to keep. And I do also want the people to know that the biggest obstructioner of this is Terry Oates. That Terry Oates had went into negotiations with the legislature back last fall and promised to do some things, and the Board of Education wasn't aware of this until the other day. They were not even aware that he was in negotiations with the legislature. He kept our elected Board of Education officials out of the loop on this legislation. He was going to handle it personally.
Is that overpaid, underperforming Rockdale County School Superintendent Terry Oates?
The one and
the one and only. All right. Listen, folks, you know, when you call Rhonda about the facilities authority, ask Rhonda who you need to speak to in order to get her exemption for senior taxpayers moving forward. We obviously know Rhonda's on board. Let's find out who the key people are, the key names to flood with phone calls and emails on that.
Well, when they vote on this, I'm going to tell you what, Alex, everything is open to open records. Mm-hmm. When they vote on this, I'm going to request an open record to find out how each one of these persons voted on this. Mm-hmm. And we're going to release this before primary.
Right.
So that we can know who voted against senior citizens, who wants seniors to lose their homes because they can't afford to pay their taxes. So we're going to release that information about who voted against Rockdale County seniors.
Yeah. Charlotte's asking if there's a House bill number for that legislation yet.
Not yet. It's not been dropped yet.
Okay. Well, let's again ask. Let's if you happen to speak to Representative Taylor, ask her who else you can talk to nudge that in the right direction and get people on the right side of history for a change. Larry, It's been fun, man. I've enjoyed this. Thank you.
Been a good show, man. I knew it was going to be a great show tonight.
Yeah, Larry will be back with you. I'm assuming, Larry, I'm speaking for you now, but I'm guessing you'll be back.
I'm back every Sunday causing chaos.
There you go. Next Sunday, 8 p.m. over on This Week from Rockdale. Tune into that. And listen, I'm sure I will see you at some point in the future as well. Probably over on Larry's show, to be honest with you. But thank you. I want to thank all of you for sticking this out with us. Again, it's very important to get this information out. So if you have the opportunity to share the show among your Facebook friends, please do. Because listen, this is it. This is the future of our finances in Rockdale. And good Lord, it's terrifying. Larry, let's say goodnight to these folks.
Good
Let
night,
them go
everybody.
back to their Sunday evenings. Guys, we love you. We appreciate you. And we'll see you next time. Take it easy.
Later.